In New York City, a young waitress named Frances McCullen finds a black handbag belonging to Greta Hike on the subway as she heads home. Initially hesitant, she decides to bring the bag home. She lives with her best friend, Erica, who suggests taking the money inside the bag, but Frances refuses. Later, they watch a movie at the cinema, making Frances emotional as it reminds her of her late mother. Her relationship with her father, Chris, is not very good as he has already moved on and buries himself in work. Using the address in the bag, Frances travels to Greta's house the next day to return it. Greta thanks her and invites Frances to have a drink inside. In the house, Frances hears strange pounding noises coming from a wall behind the piano, but Greta claims it's her neighbor reconstructing. Frances then discovers that Greta's husband, Christophe, has passed away and her daughter, Nicola, is in Paris. The two women quickly bond over their shared experiences of pain and loneliness. Frances suggests that Greta adopt a new puppy for support, but Greta, still mourning her previous dog, refuses. It doesn't take long for Greta to call Frances to take her up on the dog. The next morning, they decide to adopt an old dog and name him Morton. From here, they become closer and spend more time together. Erica asks Frances to go to a party with her, but she refuses, stating that she is having dinner with Greta. Annoyed, Erica accuses Frances of using Greta as a replacement for her mother, which leads to a heated argument. Frances goes over to Greta's home for dinner. Their seemingly innocent friendship takes a sinister turn when Greta asks Frances to grab a candle from a cabinet. Frances opens the wrong one, making a startling discovery: multiple identical handbags with the exact same contents. One has a sticky note with the number of a woman named Samantha Bale, while another bag contains a sticky note with her own name on it, meaning Greta has been purposely leaving the bags in the subway to lure people into her life. Uncomfortable with the dinner, Frances asks to leave immediately, hoping that Greta will simply go away. However, Frances isn't so lucky, as Greta begins to terrorize her with numerous messages. Frances manages to ignore the texts, but Greta shows up at the restaurant where Frances works, forcing her to confront the truth about the handbags. Wanting to distance herself from Greta's manipulation, Frances firmly tells her she never wants to see her again. Greta continues to stalk Frances more aggressively, standing outside the restaurant for hours and creepily staring at her from across the street. Feeling threatened, Frances calls the police, but they refuse to arrest Greta due to a lack of evidence of an imminent threat. Greta attempts to meet Frances in the subway, but Frances reacts quickly and escapes. Things only get more frightening when Greta turns her stalking attention to Erica, sending pictures of her at various locations to Frances. Frances calls Erica, urging her to immediately get away from wherever she is. The mad woman continues to send Frances pictures, showing that she is getting closer and closer to Erica, who somehow doesn't see her despite being right behind her in the photos. Fortunately, Erica manages to outmaneuver Greta and finds Frances. They successfully escape from Greta. Worried about the adopted dog's safety, Frances sneaks into Greta's house, digging through the trash for any information. She discovers that Greta's daughter, Nicola, is not actually in Paris. Later, Frances meets Alexa Hammond, Nicola's ex-girlfriend, who explains that Nicola committed suicide years earlier and had never been to Paris. She also reveals that Greta is Hungarian. Things get worse when Greta returns to the restaurant, making a reservation. She insists that she only wants to talk, but later goes wild, smashing a wine glass and yelling that their meeting is destiny and her mother had to die for them to meet. The crazy woman flips over the table and starts advancing toward Frances. Greta is then restrained by staff as the police arrive and take her away. However, Frances discovers that Greta has been released the next day. Erica suggests a plan to lie to Greta by staying with her father for a while, hoping that this will be enough for Greta to leave her alone. Frances agrees with the plan and meets Greta, informing her that she will be leaving town for a while. Greta gives her an uncomfortably long hug. Later, Frances is having a drink at home when she starts to feel dizzy. Unfortunately, the coffee had been drugged, and Greta suddenly shows up, punishing Frances for supposedly lying about going away. Greta drags Frances back to her house, locking her in a toy box. Frances dreams that she wakes up and finds Erica in the apartment, who tells her to pack up because her dad is waiting downstairs. She goes to the elevator to leave, but suddenly the elevator descends below the bottom floor, and the walls start closing in. Meeting Erica and Chris was just a dream. Frances is really locked in a toy box. She wakes up, screaming to be let out. Greta grants her request, grabs her phone, and leaves her trapped in the room. Greta uses the phone to make Erica believe that Frances is on vacation with her father, while making Chris think she is on vacation with Erica. This keeps Frances hostage, with no one looking for her. One afternoon, while making cookies together, Frances finds an opportunity and attempts to attack Greta with a rolling pin, severing her finger and hitting her head. She runs to find an escape, but all exits are locked, sending her down to the basement, where she finds a bag containing the body of the dying Samantha Bale. Greta finds Frances and suffocates her until she passes out. Greta then brings her back to the room behind the piano and ties her to the bed. Chris visits the girls' apartment and is welcomed by Erica. They both realize something is not right. Chris speaks to Detective Brian Cody to help find Frances. Cody pulls up files on Greta, revealing that she used to be a nurse and was dismissed for misuse of anesthetics. Cody finds Greta's home and meets her. She invites him into chat. Realizing someone else is in the house, Frances tries to make her presence known by banging on the bed and making the pendulum on the piano start ticking. Greta claims the sound was made by her dog and goes upstairs to quiet it. Exploring the house, Cody is close to finding the hidden room, but Greta suddenly appears and injects sedatives in his neck, causing him to collapse. He attempts to shoot with his gun, but misses. Greta grabs the gun and fatally shoots Cody. She then disposes of his body by adding chemicals to his face and throwing him in the basement. Greta returns to the subway to find her next victim. A young woman with curly brown hair takes the bait and arrives at the house to return the bag. As they chat, the pendulum starts ticking again, indicating that Frances is making noise. Greta steps away to quiet the neighbor and returns to have coffee. Suddenly, she feels disoriented and falls to the ground. Surprisingly, the woman pulls off her wig and reveals herself to be Erica, who had been waiting in the subway for a while until she found the handbag. As Greta faints, Frances continues banging on the bed to help Erica find her. Erica manages to pull the piano back and frees Frances from her agony. As Erica helps her friend out, music starts playing, indicating that Greta is still lurking. As Frances steps out, Greta grabs her by the throat and says she was her favorite. Greta then passes out. The girls place Greta into the toy box and lock it with an Eiffel Tower trinket. As they leave, Greta slowly starts bumping the lid of the toy box, gradually dislodging the trinket.